Hi all, welcome to another Silent Hunter 5 video with the Mega Mod downloaded from Subsim's website. I'm on 90% realism, no external views are still active for this video. Here we are leaving Kiel Canal for a patrol of the eastern coastal waters of the United Kingdom. In this video I want to show using a range angle on the bow finder and an attack disc to position myself to carry out a simultaneous attack on two targets in this same heading. I want to do this so that my torpedoes are heading close together so they can't maneuver. Okay, so here we are, we've spotted our two merchants. As a hazy, foggy day, but not in a good position to carry out an attack, so I'm ahead flank and changing course to 325 degrees, which is hopefully a parallel course to their heading, or close to. And while we have them in sight, I'm going to gather some information on our targets. So I'm going to bring up the ship recognition chart. Select freighters. Now I know that second ship fairly well. And here he is, medium steam merchant. Easy to recognise with those features there. So I only want the draft on this one, which is 6.6 meters. So we're going to move to our second one and time compress while I search. And here he is, medium composite freighter, also easily recognised, very distinctive bow and stern, and these funnels up near the main stack. So on this one I want the draft, which is 7.3 meters, the length, which is 104 meters, and the mast height, which is 28 meters. Okay, so we can close that. We'll time compress as we do our run to set up for our intercept. Okay, we've been running for quite a few minutes now. We've got in front quite a way, still very misty. I'm going to slow. As you can see there, we're not running at a parallel course. We've actually closed in quite a bit on their heading, so I'm ahead slow now, and I'm going to make it easy for myself and make a course change to north. I'm going to stop propulsion, so we're just going to drift in that turn and lose some speed. I don't want to close too much on them. I want to give myself some room to maneuver. Okay, here we are. Still just make them out in the haze, so there's no way they'd be able to see us, but I am going to dive to periscope depth anyway, just to make sure. And this dive will also help us to slow. Going into our dive. It's always nice to watch the U-boat dive.
Neuer Kontakt, Frachter mit schneller Fahrt, entfernt sich. Peilung 4, in großer Entfernung.
Now I want to come to a complete stop, so I'm going to maneuver with back standard, try and slow us up so we're dead in the water. And I'm going to move my periscope to 95 degrees, and this is where I am going to take the first lot of information on our target ship. So I'm going to bring up the range angle on the bow finder, pause it so we have vertical, horizontal marks for mast height and ship length. Our outer ring is going to show mast height and ship length in meters. Our mid outer is range in meters and time in seconds. Our mid inner is vertical and horizontal marks inside the periscope and will show target speed in knots. And our very inner ring will show angle on the bow, which is the angle if you are on the target ship and looking at the U-boat, or could see the U-boat. Okay, so we're getting pretty close now. Our target is just passing our center line. I count 7 horizontal marks and 3.2 vertical, and that is at a periscope bearing of 95 degrees, which is also a true bearing because we're facing north. So now we take that mid-inner ring and we're going to line up the mid-inner with our vertical mark of 3.2 with the upper needle here, because we're at 6 times zoom on our periscope, and we will then go to 28 meters on our outer ring and count on the mid-outer times 10 the range, which is 3,500 meters. That's our range. So now we're going to take that 3,500 meters on the mid-outer and line that up with the outer at 104, which is our ship length. And we're going to go back to the mid-inner for our horizontal mark of 7, and on the very inner that's going to show us our angle on the bow, which is pretty much 36 degrees. So we've got 36 degrees angle on the bow port because the port side of the target is facing us. Okay, so we'll close that and open up our attack disc. First thing we're going to check is make sure that our heading is at the top, north, which it is. Now take this marker here, which represents the U-boat, but it's the only one that goes to the outer ring. I'm going to set that up on our periscope bearing of 95 degrees, where we took our information. And now I'm going to set this one up to show that 95 degrees. Okay, now take this other ring which has the angle of the bow, port and starboard, and the actual target ship heading, and I'll line that up the 36 degrees angle on the bow port with our 95 degree periscope bearing, and then I line this up with the target ship, and that's going to give us a heading of 310. So that is their true heading, 310. Now if I take the marker representing our U-boat again and I'll line it up with the 90 degrees to target heading, that's going to give us a heading of 40 degrees for a 90 degree solution. So we are going to head 1/3 and change course to 40 degrees. Okay, 39, but we'll fix that later. Now I'm also going to change the compass from degrees to our rudder deflection and wait for that to 0, and then I'll know we're on course. And while we're running, we're going to select tube 1, open the doors and flood it, set the run depth for our first torpedo at 5 meters for a draft of 7.3, keep the speed on slow and set the pistol to impact. So select tube 2, open the doors and flood it. I'm going to set this to 4.5 for a draft of 6.6. I'm going to set the speed to fast and the pistol to impact. Now the different speeds are, I want the two fish in the water at the same time and hitting fairly close together, and the second target has a lot further to go. So now we're going to get that 40 degree heading. We're just going to drift onto it because we're on 39 degrees now. There we go, we're on 40 degrees. So now we're going to maneuver to a halt again, or a stop. And at 40 degrees I'm going to take my second lot of details or info on our target ship, and this time we're going to take 2 lots of information. And while I'm doing this, I'm going to get our navigator to plot our position via dead reckoning. Doesn't need to be accurate. We'll bring up our range angle of the bow finder and we are going to count the vertical marks for range, and this time we're going to time how long it takes him to pass through the center line of our periscope, and that will give us his speed in knots. Our navigator's calculated our position. Now we're just going to be using that for a reference, so it doesn't need to be accurate. So I've got 4.9, we're a little bit high on the water line, but 4.9 vertical marks, and $35 seconds. So we can get rid of the stopwatch. We're going to go back to our midsection. We're going to turn that so the mid inner is showing 4.9 on the top needle, and go to 28 meters mast height on the outer, and count off the range again times 10, 2,300 meters. So that's the range, and then we're going to take that mid outer at 35 seconds and line that up with the outer at 104, which is the ship length in meters, and this needle here gives us 6 knots, 6 knot speed. So now we're going to go to the navigator's position. Via dead reckoning, we're going to mark out 2,300 meters, a heading of 80 degrees, so that's 40 degrees periscope bearing, and our course of 40 degrees, which will give us a true bearing of 80 degrees. We mark that. Now I can erase that line. Erase that line. Now we know that their heading is 310, so we're going to mark out a couple of thousand meters on that heading of 310. And our heading, even though we're at a dead stop, is 40, which is a 90 degree, or 90 degrees to their heading. Now, as they pass the 0 degrees on our periscope, their range is going to be approximately 1,800 meters. Okay, so we have all the information we need now. We can go back to our periscope, and we are going to move that to 0 degrees, so pointing directly ahead. We are going to hit this button for manual input into the TDC, the torpedo data computer. We're going to input a range as close to 1,800 meters as we can get on this dial. It's all over the show. 1813 is close enough, and then we'll set the speed to 6 knots for our target, and the angle on the bow will be 90 degrees port at our periscope bearing of 0 degrees. Now we lock that in, and as we move our periscope back to our target, you see the gyro angle on the bow and the track angle change. And we lock on to our target and ask the XO to follow our target, and as our periscope follows that target, you will see the gyro angle on the bow and the track angle all update, and that's been fed into the torpedo. So we select tube 1, make sure everything's right. Now the best shot is going to be when our gyro angle is 0, so both of those gyro angles facing up to 0, and our track angle at 90 degrees port. So I have the speed slow for the first because I want that one to take its time getting to the target, and our second and fast because that's got a bit longer to run distance wise, and I want it hitting fairly close to the first torpedo. Our gyro angle's almost at 0 and our track angle almost 90 port. Fire our shot. Now if I unlock and we go to 0 degrees, you'll see that heading off, no deviation at all, so tracking straight. So our computer has calculated the lead we need for that shot. Now we go back, we lock onto our second target, ask the XO to follow. You would have seen the gyro angle on the bow and track angle change. Now as I select tube 2, you see them change, and that's taken into account the fast speed of this torpedo, and that data has now been fed into that torpedo. We're going to wait 40 seconds and fire that one. When I unlock, you'll see this torpedo track straight for 28 meters and then head off on its intercept course using the gyro angle and track angle. Now the red line or needle on our stopwatch is the run time for our first torpedo, but that usually is out by 10-15 seconds. There's our second torpedo there. Now first torpedo just off to the left of our center line on our periscope. It's looking pretty good. Our target ship is about to cross its path. And now our run time's up. Let's hope we don't have a dud torpedo. Come on. And there's our impact. Okay, now where's our second torpedo? We want that hitting pretty soon. And there we go, perfect. A nice hit midship, and that one's burning already. So there we go, maybe 5-10 seconds apart. No time for that second ship to maneuver after that first torpedo hit. It was perfect. And those impacts, those ships are doomed. Okay, so I'll surface now, and you can see the distance and the angles in relation to the U-boat. I don't think with this haze around we have to worry too much about aircraft. That one's sinking fairly quickly. They're both going down pretty quick actually. Okay, so you can see the range there, and the angles, of course, they've drifted from where the actual impact was. You can see that the angle on that second ship isn't as great as it looks in the periscope.
Ja, laufen auf beiden Dieselmaschinen.
So, I hope that shows that it's not how Hollywood depicts it. Just do a couple of quick calculations in your head, point the periscope in the general direction of the target and fire a torpedo. There's a little bit more to it than that. I hope you enjoyed the video. We should have some pretty decent sized holes in the side of these ships. Okay, thanks for watching. Cheers, have a good one.